What's up, players? Welcome to episode number 75 of Ready Press Play, your weekly source for everything that's new and exciting in the world of video games. Every Friday at 6 a.m. Pacific or 9 a.m. Eastern Time, we discuss the top news of the week, notable releases on all platforms while we're playing, big topics of the industry, and the games we love. If you want to write anything to Brett in the show, go to ReadyPlayNetwork.com or hit us up at Ready Press Play on Twitter and TikTok. No matter where you found us, please subscribe to the feed so you can get every new show directly to your device as soon as it posts. And if you like it, please leave us a nice review. This is June 18th, 2021. I'm your host, Daniel Lima, and I'm joined as always by my co-host, Luis Menchaca.
You know, Dan, in English class, there's always that kid that didn't read the assignment, like didn't read the book, but then pretends to like be a part of the conversation and contribute. I'm that guy right now.
God. What do you mean? Did you not follow E3? Are you not up to date with all the new announcements and all the big things happening in gaming right now?
You know what? I'm just gonna react to everything you tell me.
Okay.
No,
what kind of co-host you are?
you know what? I was like, I wasn't in the mood this week. Like, I remember I told you I wasn't in the E3 mood. I only watched the Xbox Direct and the Nintendo Direct because they're the only two ones that I actually cared about. So they didn't watch the Ubisoft Forward. I didn't watch the Square Enix. I didn't watch Capcom. I heard they were all shit anyways. So, you know, whatever.
Yeah, to be fair, that was probably a good call. And we're gonna get and talk about that a little more in a minute here. But you know, it's been a fun week. I watched as much stuff as I could, and I'm gonna be giving my thoughts on all the different conferences today if we have time. I also ranked them all actually, all the ones that I actually did watch. And so I'm excited to talk a little bit about that as well. But just for a little bit of housekeeping, we did do our It Takes Two Spoilercast finally after we finished the game a few weeks ago, and that is out. You can listen to that right now in all podcast services where you find this podcast. And you know, it was a good time. I think it's about an hour and 15-ish minutes of us talking about the game and sharing our thoughts. As usual, you know, the first 15 minutes or so of it are spoiler free, and then we get into spoilers later on. And so please go and check that out.
And just because you're curious about that, just because I'm fancy for all you YouTube watchers and stuff like that, there's going to be a card right over there. Boom. Card pops up. Yeah. That takes us to the Ready Play Network's YouTube channel /ThatSpoilercast. There you go.
Are you actually going to have time to do that this week, Lewis? I mean, you don't have time to edit the show or host it, so how are you going to have time to...
I put all the description and stuff. All I do is because it debuts on Saturdays, I have plenty of time to do all the metadata later. So
Lewis and I typically alternate hosting duties, but this time I'm hosting for the second time in a row. Maybe I don't know what we're gonna do after that. Whether you want to go back to alternating, or maybe if you want to host 2 in a row as well, or something like that. Whatever we need to do to make sure we're good.
I think I'm hosting next week for sure, though, because Dan's been working so hard. So
thank you, appreciate that. But you've been working hard too, right? And before we get into the actual show too, like I just wanted to talk a little bit about life updates, quick stuff, not big deal at all. But before we got into the show offline, Lewis was asking like why I was putting eye drops in, because I put eye drops in right before we got into the show. It's not good news. I got an eye infection in the beginning of this week, and it sucked. Like basically on Monday, and you can probably kind of see this on the video, which is why I wanted to acknowledge it. If you notice that my right eye is a little bit more closed than my left eye. Basically on Monday, out of nowhere throughout the day, my eye just started hurting. I went to sleep with my eye hurting, itching. And then I woke up on Tuesday and my eye was all swollen. I couldn't like open it and stuff. And so I went to the doctor, they checked it, and it was basically an infection on my eyelid, and they prescribed me this eye drop with anti-infectant and other things in it. And I've been having to put these eye drops in every 4 hours. And I've been doing it since. Today feels a lot better, but today is Thursday, so Tuesday really sucked, though. Tuesday was the worst, and Wednesday got a little better. Today's a little better, but I was looking like I was even concerned about like coming into the podcast looking like that, because I was basically like this, like for all of Tuesday.
Wow.
But anyway.
I was gonna say, so like, Jesus, you're making me all squeamish and like just like, oh. And I had eye surgery on I had laser eye surgery last year, you know.
Yeah, well, there's that. Also, no reasonable explanation for it, by the way. It's just like, it just happens. I don't know. Like, it's like, it could be like related to allergies, or it could be something that got into my eye. I don't know, but thankfully I feel a lot better now, so that's good. And since I had that update, Louis, how's your life going?
Oh, it's going really well. So the reason why I couldn't host and edit today is because tomorrow, the day the episode drops on Fridays, um, it's going to be my nephew's graduation. So he's graduating. He's 18. He's becoming an adult, and I helped him get through high school. I was his tutor for a while and everything, and
Nice.
so I have to, in order for me to attend his graduation, I moved my schedule up. So instead of like going in at 10 a.m. my time to start my day, I'm gonna clock in at 5 a.m. my time so I can get off in time to go to his graduation. So it's gonna be a bitch, but it sacrifices.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I mean, you're still here doing the podcast, like you could have ditched me or something and just gone to bed already, but you wanted to come in and talk about games, talk about the E3 that you barely watched. No, I'm joking. You probably watched 80% of the announcements with the two conferences that you watched. I'm gonna leave it at that. And since we're getting into it already, tiptoeing around it, Louis, why don't you bring us up with a beautiful sound effect so that we can get into our topic of the show. It's time for it.
Yep.
Which I typically say that before. All right, so E3 happened. We had our first like all digital E3. I guess we kind of had one last year, but that was not official per se. Like we didn't have the ESA really do anything last year. So other companies kind of went and did their conferences whenever they wanted to. Jeff Keighley organized some stuff. We had 3 months worth of widespread conferences, all over the place. Versus this year, we actually had a proper E3 organized by the ESA with a lot of concise conferences happening across a 4-day period. We also had parallel stuff happening during that time frame that was not associated with the ESA, but that still happened in the same days. Actually, for instance, Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest live night that happened last Thursday, I think, or last, I don't remember the day
last Thursday
exactly.
when we reacted to it, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was not officially associated with E3, but still fell into the same bucket. And there are a few other of those. But it's a proper E3. We haven't had one since 2019. And I'm gonna start with that. What do you think of it, Louis? The little bit that you've seen of it.
So it's a little bit like twofold because on the one hand, I kind of just feel whelmed. Like it's not overwhelmed, it's not underwhelmed, it's just whelmed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, I think overall there were hype moments. I think, like,
Mm-hmm.
for me, I feel like I'm in the minority because I put Nintendo in as the winner of E3,
Mm-hmm.
and most people are giving it to Xbox. And I will say it could literally it's like having like an 8.7 versus like an 8.6. You know what I mean? It's like kind of like those kind
Yeah,
of like differences.
it could go either
It
way.
could go either
Yeah,
way, yeah. But
yeah.
overall, like as a general feel, like I don't know, I just didn't. I wasn't. My heart wasn't in it. I didn't really feel it, and also like I just don't think like the announcements that were overall like brought to the table were anything to like write home about or just get the turn the needle kind of way of
Yeah.
like hype meter kind of thing. So yeah.
The interesting thing is I feel like this E3, I'm kind of of two minds about it as well, because in a lot of ways, I felt like it was very close to being a perfect E3, while there's also some things that held it back. For instance, just the fact that Sony was not part of it at all, right? At least so far. And there will be things that will be coming in later. EA is doing their thing in a month, and there's a few other things happening in a month as well. Maybe Sony will do State of Play at the end of the month or in July. We don't know. But as of now, right? Just Sony not being part of it, I feel like that absence was felt. And they haven't been a part of it for a little bit now, but I we had a strong, I feel like inarguably we had a strong Xbox conference, a strong Nintendo conference. If we had a strong Sony conference as well, I think this would have been a dope E3. And then with the third parties, like I feel like Ubisoft came in and did a decent Ubisoft press conference. I feel like some of these other companies did some cool stuff and etc. But then there was also a lot of really bad conferences as well.
Like Capcom.
I wouldn't put yeah, I wouldn't put Ubisoft in the really bad category, but I'll definitely put Capcom and
Bandai Namco.
I didn't see Bandai Namco stuff. Gearboxes was definitely really bad. I had that at the bottom of my list. So there was some weird stuff there as well, like companies that felt like they just didn't really need to be there. Like, why did you even do this if you didn't have anything to say, right? That's kind of what I kept wondering. The other thing too is that I feel like this E3 kind of give me a good idea of what, like, now I have a pretty clear picture in my head of what I wish E3 was.
Hmm.
And the truth is that what I wish E3 was this plus Sony, and then cut out like and then trimming out some of these other ones. And I feel like I would be pretty happy with that.
So
And
just the first
also,
parties and then no third party conferences. Just
no,
you
like
know.
I'm okay with Ubisoft, I'm okay with a few of the other ones, but like
Okay, so like basically only like third parties only if they have something to say. So like if you have a good
exactly.
output like of something that's hype inducing, then you can do a conference. If you have nothing to say, then don't show up.
And
Or
also
if
I
you have
like
something to say, just partner with Sony or partner with Xbox or something like that.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Like, and also, like, I would like it to be concise. Like, I think it would be really cool if all the conferences happen. I saw somebody had an idea if they all happen in a day. I think that might be a little too much, but if they all happen in the weekend, like, if we had Jeff Keighley opening up on Friday night with like some kind of like third party conference, right? With like bring out the third parties together, and then on Saturday we had like Microsoft and Ubisoft and EA or something, and then on Sunday we had like Nintendo and PlayStation. Like to me, that would be the perfect E3. But as far as the content that we got from the two biggest ones, I think it was pretty solid. I think it was pretty good. Um, you know what? Let me go through. I kind of want to bring up my conference ranking right here. I'm
Your
gonna
Twitter
go.
ranking.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I
while you do that here,
go
I
ahead.
just wanted to say that there is definitely. I've been seeing a lot of things on Twitter lately, especially today, or like when I was on Twitter, and it was saying something about like there was somebody like I think it was Push Square that put out an article about basically they're struggling to keep relevancy and they're like grasping at straws to like be relevant for one more year and just kind of like kicking the bucket kind of thing. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a little of two minds about that because on the one hand, you're right. It's like you know E3 itself is not doing a good job of being a consumer forward facing conference, nor is it good at being a trade show. So it's like, eh.
At the same time, when you look at both like Xbox's showcase and the Nintendo Direct, I feel like together, especially like that makes it for the best showcase of games that we've had in I think at least like 3 years. Like it was definitely better than last year. I think it was better than 2018 as well. Or sorry, than 2019 as well. Yeah, I think because I don't think Nintendo had a lot to show there either. So I feel like I feel pretty positive about it actually because I feel like I saw there's this take that I saw around from a few people, not a lot of people, just a few people, like, oh, this year validated that like E3 is going down and that there's no need for them.
I saw
I actually
that.
disagree with that. I feel like you could have said that last year, right? Like, because last year we didn't have an E3, but when you put last year and this year together, like next to each other, I feel like this year so far is so much better. So to me, this year validates that ESA actually does have something to bring to the table, making this feel more organized and feel better. There's still,
Centralized.
yeah, more centralized. There's still some ways to go though for some of these companies. So I'm gonna go through here. So number one, I unranked. Like there's one thing that I watched that I didn't rank it, which is the Take Two panel, they called it, because I feel like this was included in the list of E3 stuff happening in a way that people thought it was a conference, but it was not a conference at all. It was a Zoom conversation between the employees of Take Two. So it was like a Zoom call that they put out as like a video of them talking about diversity in the workplace or whatever. It nothing to do with games. There's no games mentioned at all. And I feel bad for those people. I don't want to make fun of them because I feel bad for them because I think they got the wrong memo of what they were supposed to do or something. Like
So it's very
I
more
don't want to
trade show oriented, I would say, probably.
exactly. It looked like a it would be like it would have been like a GDC talk or something, but for some reason it was part of this as well. But now on the ones that are ranked, number 12 in the last place, the Gearbox showcase. This was really awkward. It was really weird. They didn't have anything to show, and they were just kind of killing time for like 30 or 40 minutes. It starts with Randy Pitchford going into the set for the Borderlands movie and talking about the actors. and they didn't show, or not even like all the actors, some of the actors, like Kevin Hart shows up on it. They didn't show anybody in costume. They didn't show any of the set pieces. They didn't give any new information about the movie. It was just like, hey, look, we're making a movie. Hey, Kevin Hart, what do you think about being in the Borderlands movie? And him being like, yo, man, I feel like it's really good and really cool. I'm excited to be rolling. Fans are gonna be excited. So basically, them talking about the movie, like, just, it would have been fine if it lasted 30 seconds. That was the first 15 minutes of the conference.
That's like half right
Like
there.
literally just that. And then, one of the big announcements of E3 arguably was the new Borderlands spin-off. So you would expect that if Gearbox has a show, that at least they're going to give us a deep dive on that game. And they didn't at all. They didn't give us any new information about that game at all in their own conference. So just, and then there was nothing else basically. So just basically terrible. Then number 11, Capcom. Basically they just kind of showed some games that were already seen everywhere else. I think there were only 4 games that they talked about. And it was like, okay, this is okay, but this didn't need to be here either.
So I have heard one bad thing about the Capcom conference is that they just put like a little text splash screen where saying Resident Evil Village DLC is being worked on, and then that's it. Like, I was like, what's
that? Might have been the only news story that came out of it. And then it was kind of like, oh, let's look at this game that you already saw.
And then they didn't show like Final Fantasy 16 or wait, no, that was Square Enix. I'm sorry, Capcom.
Oh,
Capcom.
yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah, all right, whatever. Sorry.
You actually might want to watch the Capcom conference because you're so into Street Fighter. They did spend some time talking about Street Fighter esports stuff, and I was like, I don't even know what they're talking about. So, yeah.
Probably like the Capcom Pro Tour probably coming back or something.
In number 10, this is the last one I watched, and I just added it in. It's the Guerrilla Collective. This was one of the many indie presentations that they did, and I just watched this one like yesterday or a few days ago because I did not have time before. It was okay. Lots of indie games. I feel like some of these indie showcases struggle with like keeping your attention because there's so much stuff and so much of the games like just kind of blend together. It's hard to keep track of things. This one didn't have a lot that stood out to me. But I'll get to a few of the other indie ones that I liked better as well.
Wasn't there like 2 Guerrilla Collective conferences? And
yes.
Also, I heard that it was actually pretty decent, is what I heard. But
a lot of people liked it. It didn't do anything to me. So I'm not saying it's bad. It stays like the other ones that are coming up, I thought were better personally. Okay. So number 9, Devolver, also didn't do much for me. Almost kind of tied with the Guerrilla Collective as well. There was a lot of humor in this conference.
Yes.
And I think it either hit it, like people thought that it either hit it or not. For me, it didn't hit it. I didn't really laugh at any of the jokes, so I was just kind of cringe about it.
Devolver's always about that showmanship and like presentation and kind of comedy and humor and stuff. So, yeah.
Yes. So these are the meh conferences to me personally. It's like Capcom and Gearbox were bad. Guerrilla, Devolver, those were meh. Here's the other meh one. Square Enix. It's number 8. So Square Enix had some cool stuff. I'm only putting them here on number 8 because Guardians of the Galaxy is a new announcement that I think people didn't expect. It's coming out in a few months. Kind of seems exciting. Cool shit. But they also spent way too much time on it. That was like half the conference, and then there wasn't a lot else there. Then number 7, I put in the Warner Brothers presentation, which was actually just Back 4 Blood. It was 10 minutes of Back 4 Blood, hosted by Naomi Kyle. But I'm so excited for that game. I'm like, oh, cool. I want to see 10 minutes of Back 4 Blood. This is awesome. I'm okay with that existing.
Well, I'm happy that Naomi Kyle is still working. So.
Yeah, she's still doing some stuff. Then here's where it's like more like the good stuff, I think. Like number 6, Wholesome Direct. That was the indie one that I liked better. So this one just had more games that attracted me compared to the Guerrilla Collective. It was kind of part of the Guerrilla Collective as well. It's kind of like it happened after it. Number 5, Ubisoft Forward. It was okay. There was some good stuff in there. Rainbow Six looked cool. Number 4, Day of the Devs. That was the one that happened after Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest live, and he was just kind of going into indie games. This one, in my opinion, was the best indie game showcase, was the Day of the Devs one. And the thing that I like the most about it is that rather than just being like, let's just rattle off games one after the other, it was actually like, no, we picked like 12 games, and like we're going to give you a trailer and we're going to talk a little bit about it, and then here's the next one. And it wasn't too much. and it had a lot of cool stuff. So I
So
like
it's
that
more of
one.
like a spotlight, like a featured kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh,
Exactly.
that's better. Like curating is better than if anything, because
I
you're
felt like it
weeding
was
out
more
the
curated.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Guerrilla Collective, just it was way too much stuff for me to keep track of, honestly. And then here's top 3 for me. Number 3, which we talked about last week, Summer Game Fest opening night. Thought it was good enough. It had Elden Ring, it had the Borderlands announcement, it had some cool indie games in the middle there. I like the existence of that show. And here's the thing, even though this one might have not been as good as it can be, I like that it exists and I want to see it improve. Like, think about the Game Awards through the years and how it's gotten bigger and better and gotten more stuff. I want to see that happen with this show. And I think that Elden Ring is a pretty. I mean, it ended up being like I predicted last week. It ended up being one of the biggest surprises of E3 because a lot of the other stuff was kind of predictable. But I put that up there, and then so number 2 and number 1, I have Nintendo at number 2 and Microsoft Xbox at number 1. But the truth is, they're more like a tie to me. I
Yeah.
think both Nintendo and Xbox had pretty solid, pretty good press conferences. I think you said it was like an 8.6 or an 8.7. I think I look at it the same way too. Like I was in the without decimal points, I was just thinking that I feel like both of them were eights. They
Yes.
were both great conferences. They were not amazing. They were not like, incredible ear dreams, whatever. Like they were they were just two great conferences that didn't have anything we wanted, but they that had a lot of surprises and had a lot of cool shit. And I feel the same way about those two, where I feel like they were both one. Basically, they were both one more thing away from
A
being a
nine.
9 or a 10. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So.
agree with you. See, here's the thing. All right, so my first gut reaction, and I haven't scored either of them, by the way. I haven't put a number to either Nintendo or Xbox. I was just making up those numbers out of my head when I was talking about it.
Mhm.
But I kind of do agree that they are great. So I guess I kind of maybe want to bump it up to an 8. But as far as Xbox, I was more lukewarm on it. Like I was very like,
Mhm.
whenever I was in the chat like on Level One Gaming, like watching it with Fame, and I was like, I rated a 7. Like after the show is over, I put on the chat like 7, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, I wasn't. It's not that it wasn't like it's not like they weren't bringing announcements. It's just that none of the announcements raised the energy for me personally. Like
Mhm.
majority of those announcements, like people were like, cool, cool. And like me, I'm just kind of like bored, just
Yeah.
kind of like not, it's like I'm not like my heart isn't racing at all for any of these announcements, including Starfield. By the way, I'm not really interested in that game.
But you know why, right? Because I actually kind of relate to that feeling. But the reason why we both feel that way is because in this weird way, it's almost like we're not the audience. Like we are not the Xbox fans, right? That's the way I look at it. Like that I kind of need to judge these conferences based on like who they're for, because like I can't go to like a Nintendo conference and be disappointed because all they showed was Mario, Metroid, and Zelda, and I don't care about these things, right? Like that's what Nintendo fans want. And I feel like when it comes to Xbox fans, like, they want Halo, they want Bethesda, they want Forza, like that's what they want. So I feel like they were giving what they wanted. So I kind of look at it from that perspective. Like, even though I am unlikely to play that Forza game, I understand that it looks gorgeous and that there's an audience for it that is very passionate about it, right? So, um,
Yeah, yeah.
and but
So like for me, the most exciting announcement that I was the most hyped for was 12 minutes. Like
right, me too.
that's how like utterly ridiculous. Like I mean, Halo. I'm excited for Halo, but it's not like I'm a very new Halo fan, anyways. So like those are really
Hmm.
the only two things. But everything else was just kind of like, okay, mediocre. Like kind of like
Hmm.
I'm not gonna download Forza, even though I have Game Pass. I'm not gonna download Psychonauts 2. I'm not gonna. I'm probably not even gonna download Starfield because like I'm not really big into like I don't even own Skyrim. Like like, I'm not
Right.
into like Todd Howard games kind of thing. So you know what I mean? Like so I
Yeah.
get that Todd Howard games have a big history with Xbox 360 and Xbox and stuff like that. But I'm just not that audience. And for me, there's two things that are really one big criticism that I can like legitimately voice. Well, I guess two, because the second one being that none of the games speak to me. But the real number one big thing that really like would even if I'm not excited for it, I can still at least, bump it up a grade higher, is if more games were announced for Q4 2021 / Q1 2022. A majority
Mhm.
of these games were a year out to like a year and a half out. There was a lot of
Right.
games that were just being announced, so it's like, here's a CGI trailer, and like that's cool and all, but like I really wanted more immediacy, or yeah, I guess if that's a word. I wanted more immediate things in the near future versus something that's a little bit more far out, because a majority, like, what is it, like 70% of these announcements, they're gonna be at next year's E3, So
Yeah. Well, here's the thing though. The interesting thing is there's a bunch of things that were intentionally left out. So Avowed was not there, Everwild was not there. There's a few other ones as well that we know, like Hellblade 2
yeah,
surprisingly was not there, right? And a few other things. So like I look at those games that were not there as like those are the games that are gonna be the main ones next year's E3. Those are the ones that are like more like future, or even the one after the year after that, right? Like the ones that are farther out. Eventually Elder Scrolls 6 as well, and etc. But we actually did get quite a bit of things that like and we're gonna get into this PowerPoint that I made in a minute, but like when you look at where things landed release date wise, we are actually getting to the point where every month we know of like some interesting stuff that's coming to Game Pass day one, new games or ports of old games and etc. But we got like 12 Minutes and Psychonauts 2, those are both in August. There's some stuff coming out in October. I think Forza is November. Halo Infinite still doesn't have a date, which is concerning
yeah,
potentially, but we could maybe expect that to be November as well, like October, November, December. I don't know, like somewhere in the middle there. If it doesn't get pushed to next year, as some people have been speculating. But I'm beginning to see Xbox build that cadence, is what I'm
right.
beginning to. And like, we have a lot of things that are scheduled for 2022. I am in the expectation that that means like some of those are going to be Q1, some of those are going to be Q2, some of those are going to be Q3, and some of those are going to be Q4. Um,
I think
but
I think out of all of the okay, well, one of the things that I was noticing when I was watching the Xbox conference is that almost everything was 2022, like slapped on at the end, with the exception
yes.
of like 12 minutes and Psychonauts, and Forza. Everything else was 2022, and like only one of those games that I can't remember off the top of my head was like Q1 2022. It was like it was been Back for Blood or something. I don't remember, but hazy memory here. But I do vaguely remember like it was just one date. One game was given an actual concrete release date, and it was in early 2022, and everything else was after next year's E3. And I was like a little disappointed with that. So
Okay. So I want you to pull up the PowerPoint now. We're gonna
okay,
go through this because I spent a lot of time on this. So I want to do it.
let's
So
do
at
it.
the end of the day, E3 is about games and it's about getting new info in games, new announcements, and also getting release dates. So I put together basically as I was watching all these conferences, I was making notes on my phone of everything, things that I found interesting or things that I thought were relevant or big, etc. And I put them all in this PowerPoint with the release dates. And I kind of want to go through what the rest of the year looks like month by month, and then what we know is coming in 2022 and what we know is coming beyond, and talk about those with you and kind of see your thoughts on like each month moving forward. So let's start with June 2021. So we're already halfway through June. You know, the month is ending in just 2 weeks, but we got some interesting things that we got to look at E3, or that we know about that are coming out this month still. So we got, and this is not exactly in order, but in June 22nd, we got this game called Phantom Abyss, which I thought looked pretty cool. This is one of the indie games that stood out to me. I saw it in multiple conferences as well. This is basically what are those games called? Roguelike, where you're going through a dungeon. It kind of looks like sort of like Indiana Jones, like it's 3D first person. You're parkouring through this dungeon, trying to like fix, like trying to basically find the end, like find your way out of this temple. But the crazy thing is that so when a temple exists, people can play and try to beat that temple. Only one person in the world will beat each temple. Once you beat it, that temple is gone. And then like the next time somebody plays, they're going to be playing another temple. They're all procedurally generated. There will be infinite temples, and if you beat a temple, you will know that you were the only person to beat that temple. As you're going through it, you can see the other people trying to go through it as well.
Wow.
So I thought it was like just kind of like a very unique, interesting concept. So I wanted to give that a shout out. Then on June 22nd as well, we got a new expansion to Sea of Thieves, A Pirate's Life. This is the Pirates of the Caribbean crossover. Then on June 25th, we got Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 coming to the Switch. Sky Children of the Light coming to the Switch on June 29th. And then at the end of the month, June 29th, we got Mario Golf Super Rush, right? So not a lot here. It's just the end of the month. Any of these things tickle your fancy? Anything you want to mention, Lewis?
Well, I'm a fan of the fact that they managed to get like Pirates of the Caribbean crossover with Sea of Thieves. That makes sense. That's good branding. The actor is probably not Johnny Depp, but damn, he has a good Johnny Depp impression if that's not him. So, as far
Yes.
as Mario Golf, I'll buy it just because it's Mario Golf. Probably won't play it though. So there you go.
Yeah. I want to just say while we're in this light, so Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 plus 2 coming out on the Switch. And then we also found out the Guardians of the Galaxy, the new game, also coming out on the Switch.
Yep.
So I am seeing a pattern of like new AAA games still coming out on the Switch, showing that these developers are finding out ways to make their games run on the Switch,
No excuses.
despite everybody
Yeah.
kind of doubting that, right? Still didn't get a Switch Pro announcement, um, but we'll
Those
see about that.
bastards. Those bastards.
Now, if you move on to next month, July is kind of where things start kicking in, and this is also where I want to start bringing up. Let's think about like the different companies, right? Like so, like in June, Microsoft still Thieves update. You know, we got a bunch of new games dropping to Game Pass, which we're gonna hit on later in the show. And then Nintendo has Mario Golf, right? Then July, Microsoft has The Ascent dropping one on Game Pass. That is a new game. That is a new exclusive. They have Flight Simulator dropping on Xbox as well, also on Game Pass. That is an Xbox Series X exclusive. While Nintendo has Monster Hunter Stories 2 on July 9th and Zelda Skyward Sword HD on July 16th. Then I got a few other shout outs here. We got Death's Door. That was an indie game as well. It was like kind of like a Bastion like, if I remember correctly. Last Stop. I believe that is a new game from a known developer, which is why I added it there. I wanna check it again. And then Tribes of Midgard. This game was shown in like 5 different conferences. And it's like a 10-player co-op game. And I thought it was funny. The developers were talking about it. They were like, you can play it by yourself, but it's the most fun when you play it with another 9 players. And in my head, I'm like, who knows 9 friends to play a game like that with?
Yeah.
But
And there's also going to be like a situation where everyone has to own their own copy of the game, and that's a whole rigmarole right there. So,
how do you feel about Zelda Skyward Sword HD still being pretty much one of the only products to celebrate Zelda's 35th anniversary, Lewis?
you know, there was a thing that was said during the E3 Direct at the end where they said on the voiceover, I don't know if it was poorly translated or if it's they say what they mean kind of thing, but they said that there's not going to be any other campaigns or whatever or to market. This is all you get is a Game & Watch. And I'm like, damn, they're not even going to do a Zelda 35th anniversary celebration. I mean, damn. I mean, you got product. You got Skyward Sword HD. You got the Hyrule Warriors expansions. You got the Game & Watch, and I'm pretty sure there was something else Zelda coming out. Oh, you could have done like a twin pack of like Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD. You could have done a lot to pump up Zelda. It's too bad that Breath of the Wild 2 isn't going to be out in time for the holidays to meet that 35th anniversary celebration. Because when they said 2022 on there, that pretty much means holiday 2022 whenever they just put a whole year on it. So yeah. But as far as how do I feel about Skyward Sword, honestly, I don't know. I guess I'm just gonna buy it. I bitch, but I'm probably not even gonna buy the amiibo. So whatever. I don't know. I haven't decided on the amiibo.
And the thing that I'm trying to point out here too is that like it looks like both Nintendo and Xbox have been able to get that into that cadence again, where they do have a release coming every month more or less. So like Nintendo with Mario Golf, and now with Zelda, it's like whether you like them or not, that's a different story. And then with Xbox, I would give it to the Game Pass updates and the Sea of Thieves expansion in June, and then the Ascent and Flight Simulator in July. And then we'll get into more stuff later. But Monster Hunter Stories 2. That's one of the games that they showed at the Capcom showcase. Um, the only reason I put Last Stop in there is because it's an Annapurna interactive game as well, and it looked kind of interesting. So there was lots of cool. Most of the cool indies were, from Annapurna as well, or Devolver or something. But let's go into August now. I think this is where there's some interesting things here too. So 12 minutes comes out August 19th. We got a release date. Lewis and I have been excited for this game for a long time. We mentioned it in the podcast before. Who finally get it? Lewis, are you still hyped? Are you still intending on playing this game day one?
I believe this is a Game Pass day one, so I'm going to be able to buy or play it day
Yes.
one easily. So hell yeah, I'm very much excited for this game. I also kind of think that seeing like they got James McAvoy, Daisy Ridley, and Willem Dafoe, I'm pretty sure that there is a version of this game that could have came out like 2 years ago if they didn't have to like redo the voice acting. Because I'm pretty sure they like literally got whatever no-name voice actors and they re-recorded their lines and delayed the game because of that. So that's what I'm thinking.
That's an interesting take. Yeah, it could have even been that like I don't know if Microsoft is like publishing this game or co-publishing or whatever. I feel like they definitely have something going on here. And I wonder because those actors are not cheap. Like I wonder if Microsoft came in a few years ago and was like, "We're going to help you guys, but we
Take
need
it
to
to the
get
next level.
yeah, we got to take this to the next level. We got to put better voice acting on this and it will take as long as it takes, but that because I feel like that's been one of the big selling points for this game now over the last few years once it's come at the times that it's come up.
I mean, there was a
Um,
playable demo that they showed on Kind of Funny like a long time ago that Greg Miller
yes.
played, and it wasn't these voice actors. I'm pretty sure there is a version of this game that was already been completed a long time ago. I would put money on it. So yeah,
Also coming out in August, also day one on Game Pass is Psychonauts 2 on August 25th. And earlier in the month on August 13th, Hades comes out on Xbox, also coming day one on Game Pass. And then it's also coming out on PS4 and PS5 as well, if you want to buy the game there instead. Before Hades was just PC and Switch.
and also
So
it was digital only, so these are physical
yes,
versions of the game. So that's good.
yes. And here's the thing, Louis. It's like I feel like that's what I'm getting at here. Like, two new games, 12 minutes and Psychonauts 2, exclusive to Xbox. And then Hades was one of the game of the years from last year, right? Like whether it's your kind of game or not. And it will come to a new platform to Xbox players day one on Game Pass as well. So I believe that I believe that both 12 minutes and Psychonauts 2 have the potential of being like 85 or 90 plus on Metacritic. And I say this because, Tim Schafer has a good rap. Like the games he makes tend to rate well, review well. And this is one that's been in development for a long time where I feel like it was given the time to make as good as it can be. There's a lot of fans of the original game that are excited for this. So I just kind of look at it as like three, like they might not be AAA, but they're like three top tier indie games seemingly coming out on
Yes.
Xbox Game Pass this month.
Damn.
And I think that's really
it's
cool,
like it's like three A's makes it triple A.
Yeah, exactly, right? Maybe you can look at it that way.
No,
Um,
but you know what? Now that I think about it, I have played two Tim Schafer games, and I liked them both. I liked Grim Fandango. I liked, damn it, what's that other game? The one I played where it's like the two
Broken
characters.
Age.
Yeah, Broken
Yeah.
Age. That's the one. Thank you. Thank you. You pay
Mhm.
attention. Yeah, I played Broken Age, and I liked Grim Fandango. They're really, really good games, and if I'm pretty sure if Psychonauts 1 is on Game Pass right now, I could just probably like
Yes.
play it and then like become a fan and then feel hyped for it. So yeah.
Yeah, and I've never played Psychonauts 1, but I did see a presentation for Psychonauts 2 at I want to say E3 2019 probably. And it looked really cool. Like it is kind of like an acid trip of a game and there's not, there's not as many games that do shit like that. So I mean, a good way to put it is like think about like some of the crazier levels in It Takes Two, right? It kind of felt like that. So I'm excited to check it out. I feel like I'll download it, and I'll try it at least. And obviously 12 minutes. Now, here's what I think was the weirdest story to come out of E3. this happened in the Gearbox conference. So here's another thing that happened in the Gearbox conference. Godfall, the PS5 exclusive game that came out at the launch of the PS5, is now coming to PS4 on August 10th. So like 9 months later, they're bringing it to the previous platform. What do you think about that?
That is very weird. Because
Yeah.
when does a game ever come out on next gen and then re-releases on the previous gen? You know what I mean?
I don't think I've ever seen it. I'm sure it must have happened before. I feel like with games that get announced for both consoles, sometimes we see like an offset in the release. Like, didn't like Twilight Princess come out on the Wii first and then on the GameCube or something like that, or like a week later?
Yes, it
Or
was. It was like, I think it was like either a week or a month later. But yes, they. I don't know. I guess they, when Nintendo specifically, they wanted to drum up sales for the Wii, so that's why they did it that way. Even though
yeah.
it was ready to go on the GameCube.
So I've never seen an instance like this one though, where it's like where we didn't know, right? Like where it was like the game was advertised as a PS5 only game, and then later it's like, oh wait, by the way, it's also coming to PS4. I actually think that's one of the most interesting stories to come out of this E.
You know, the thing that I was actually going to say is that didn't they, weren't they touting like that this game can only run on PS5? It's going to take advantage, and you know, this is next gen. It almost kind of makes it seem like they're making liars out of themselves. Is what I was going to say.
Let me tell you this, Louis. In my opinion, and this is just my humble opinion, that sentence is always bullshit. Always. And I'll tell you that. Like, okay, if you add, there's a way to make that sentence correct. Is that if you add the words in this exact way, right? Like, so like this game can only run on PS5 in this exact way that it does, right? Like same frame rate, same resolution, same graphical effects, same loading screen, same everything, same loading speed. Like in that case, yes, that is true. But this game can only run on the PS5, period. That sentence is a lie. It is always a lie because there's always a way. Like it's like people say, well, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart can only run on the PS5 because they're loading these worlds so fast. It's like, well, you know what? That game can run on the PS4. You would just go to a loading screen in between while loading the world. You know what I mean? That's what would
Yeah,
happen. So like the game would be different. I get that. Like so like the
it wouldn't
game
be as
can
snappy.
only
Yeah.
yeah, like but it's not like the game can't run. They made The Witcher 3 run on the Switch. You know? Guardians of the Galaxy is going to come out on the Switch. Like you can do it. Like it's just you're going to have to make concessions. That's all it is. So it is always a choice. It is always a choice of whether like are you willing to make those concessions to put your game on a weaker platform? Yes or no. The companies that say yes do things like this. But it's very weird that they're doing it after the fact, and I think it shows the game was unsuccessful. They didn't get a lot of sales on the PS5 probably. They were hoping that everybody buying a PS5 would have bought this game because it was one of the very few exclusives that was there at launch. But I think people didn't.
You know what's
And I
kind of
think
funny
they
is
need
like we were
to.
talking about exclusives last week and we were naming them all and stuff like that. We completely overlooked Godfall.
I know 100%. And I think a lot of people have. Well, we can move on to the next month, but I just two quick shout outs here. Book of Travels and Hoa were two indie games that piqued my interest that are coming out this month as well. Um, both of those kind of look like they were like Ori like artsy platformers. So
Okay. All right. September.
right, lots of stuff coming out in September this year. So we got the Diablo 2 remastered. Diablo 2 Resurrection comes out September 23rd. You know what? Let me try to do this in order, even though my slide's not in order. So on September 2nd, Ubisoft puts out Riders Republic. Then on September 10th, we got three releases. Life is Strange True Colors from Square Enix. Tales of Arise, it went from Bandai Namco, I believe. And then WarioWare Get It Together. Let's talk about that for a second. Did the WarioWare announcement, did that catch you off guard, Louis?
You know what's kind of funny is in hindsight, I wasn't surprised because like remember we were talking about last week, or we are talking about like what franchises haven't been hit yet.
Yes.
Completely forgot and overlooked WarioWare, even though like I own a I own several WarioWare games on the Wii. It was a Shake It, and then also for the 3DS. So yeah, it just kind of makes sense. Like, oh, WarioWare works perfect for handhelds, and the Switch is basically a handheld. And so yeah, this one, I don't know why they haven't done it sooner, and I'm glad that
Hmm.
Nintendo is still getting their franchise representation going on. So I am probably going to buy this game day one, especially because I'm a fan of the WarioWare games and stuff like that. It's not like, oh my god, I'm like foaming at the mouth, and I'm like highly anticipated game. It's like, oh yeah, I like it. It's good. I'm gonna totally get it. That's
Yeah.
how I feel about it.
And it's cool. Like I kind of like it. The lineup of the Switch so far, like or rather the titles that we're seeing on the Switch since the console came out. I like that we're getting basically like one of each franchise. You know what I mean? Like all the franchises are getting hit. And we're about to talk about our next one on October. But like it was Zelda. At first it was Zelda, and it was Mario, and it was Splatoon, and it was Mario Kart, and then it became Smash Brothers, and more different types of Zelda games. So like a Zelda remake with Link's Awakening, and fuck, I'm forgetting a lot of the names right now. Luigi's Mansion, Fire Emblem, Mario Maker, and now we're getting to the Wario's. Now we're getting to the Metroids. Now we're getting to more Mario Party. Like, I don't know, it's cool. We're getting a lot of representation from different franchises on the Switch, and I think that's great. Um, so excited about that as well. This new Life is Strange game seems interesting. I played the original Life is Strange, but never finished it. In fact, it's one of those that I started like 2 or 3 times, but never finished it. I might check this one out, but wouldn't hold my breath for it.
So hold
Uh,
on. Actually, you know what?
mhm.
Yeah, I'll go ahead, go for it. I'll interrupt you later. Go.
Okay. On September 16th, Rainbow Six Extraction, previously called Rainbow Six Quarantine, is coming out. And we actually got to see a deep dive at this on the Ubisoft conference. So that was one of the highlights of their show. And I actually think this looked interesting. It's like it's a different take on Rainbow Six. They're going the alien route, which I have to admit I didn't really expect that. I with the name Rainbow Six Quarantine, for some reason my mind just immediately assumed like zombies.
Mm.
I was immediately thinking like the quarantine zones on Last of Us, and I thought they were going more that direction. Rainbow Six is typically also like a very realistic, grounded franchise, and as far as I can tell, they usually stick to like man-to-man combat, like terrorists versus like non-terrorists. I was like Counter Strike. That's my impression of it. I could be wrong. I could have it wrong because I never really played a Rainbow Six game. But in this one, you're actually playing against aliens. And I saw some people draw a comparison between this game and Back for Blood, which we'll talk about later as well. So it seems interesting. One to keep an eye out on. Um, and then to kind of round out the month, we later get the Diablo 2 remaster on the 23rd. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is coming to the Switch with extra content on September 24th, kind of continuing the trend of everything comes to the Switch. And then on September 30th, Life is Strange Remastered Collection, which might be a good opportunity for me to finally play and beat the original Life is Strange.
So this is where I wanted to interrupt you here because I covered the Nintendo Direct like specifically like I actually you know I rewatched it play by
Yes.
play while I wrote the article for Level One Gaming, and you got the date here for September 30th, and on the Nintendo Direct it just said later this year, and I've even put it on
Yes.
my article. What the fuck? Like, why didn't they
I'll
just
t-
say the
no,
date?
I'll tell you why. Because I don't think it's coming out on the Switch on September 30th.
Oh God. Of course, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Those
So from my
bastards.
understanding, although I will tell you this, there was a lot of weird shit happening with release dates to Z3 where a game would show up at a conference with no release date or just like a vague window, and then at a different conference it would have a specific release date. There were a few cases like that that I heard people talk about. But for this one, it had a date on the Square Enix press conference. I'm guessing that either it's a mess up or that
It's gonna
the
come
Switch
later.
version will come later. Yes.
I hate when the
Um,
Switch gets treated like a second class citizen, but whatever. Um,
October is the month hype, Lewis, if you're ready to move
This
on.
is where we start getting into the holiday fall gaming.
I am so excited about this. I'm just going to jump straight into it. Metroid Dread, a new 2D Metroid game. I did not see this coming at all. I can't remember if you predicted or not. I feel like you might have.
Nope.
This is the kind of thing that I think I've predicted before in previous E3s, but I didn't predict this year. And then this actually made one of my predictions wrong, which is that I said no mention of Metroid. They did mention it. They said Prime 4 is still in development, but here's the new Metroid, the new 2D Metroid, a sequel to, I believe, Metroid Fusion, which is the fourth one in that series. I'm so happy about this because I just played through Samus Returns on the 3DS, which is a remake of Metroid 2. And I really like that we're getting another game in that style on the Switch. It looks so good. I really like the art style. I really like the graphics. I'm very excited about this. Also, just want to point out one more thing. I was watching this with Leah, and she doesn't know like some of these franchises that well. And she was so confused at first when they come in and they say, we want to tell everybody that Metroid Prime 4 is still in development, but here's something else. And then the first thing that shows up in the screen before you see the actual title of the game is Metroid 5.
Yes.
And she was very confused, like, what? They're showing 5 before 4 is out? and I thought that was funny. Because it is kind of weird. Like, hey, Metroid Prime 4 is in development, but here's Metroid 5.
Yeah.
Sounds like something Square Enix would do,
yeah.
or something. But anyway, Metroid Dread is the title. Go ahead, Lewis.
So Metroid Dread is an interesting name because this was a canceled 2D Metroid, like from back in the day. That there's like a YouTube documentary about what happened to Metroid Dread, and like that came out like 6 years ago and stuff like that. So I'm glad that they're at least reigniting that same title. So that's cool, and I'm glad that Nintendo was happy with the performance that Mercury Steam did with the 3DS Metroid 2 remake, and then also the fact that Nintendo was happy with like their creative liberties that they took with the parry system and everything, and they let them just basically go wild with carte blanche. Okay, go ahead, have at it, make an original 2D Metroid game. Everyone was asking for the 3DS game to get ported to the Switch, and they just did us one better. So I'm very happy with it. This looks amazing. The animations look fluid as hell, and I'm ready. My body's ready, So, yeah, I'm actually probably gonna I've only played one 2D Metroid, and that was Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo, and I feel like I need to go to the Game Boy Advance, play Metroid 1 remake, because apparently the Metroid 1 remake on the Game Boy Advance is the best version.
Yeah.
Better than the NES. So I need to play that Game Boy Advance remake. Then I need to replay Super Metroid. No, the 3DS remake.
Yes.
Then go back to the go back to the Super Nintendo, play Super Metroid, and then go back to the Game Boy Advance and play Metroid Fusion.
Yes, I mean if you want to go through all that trouble, but I definitely think we should play Metroid Dread and actually maybe even do a spoiler cast for it if we both play it in the month it comes out.
Yes.
I will most likely be playing it then, and yeah, I'm very excited. And the funny thing too is like in that timeline, there's also Other M, but they totally ignored that because that is technically, I believe that is technically the sequel to Fusion.
Oh shit! I didn't know that.
Yes.
Interesting.
But that's a story for another time. Now let's stay within the Nintendo theme. What do you think about Mario Party Superstars coming out at the end of the month on October 29th? I'm gonna tell you that I feel a little negative about this announcement, and I'll get into why later. But go ahead.
Man, they should not have made this game. They should have just patched this into like Super Mario Party and stuff like that. Like honestly, it kind of feels like this is like Nintendo saying we're sorry for the Mario Party, the top 100 on the 3DS. We're gonna go ahead and just give you guys this, and that's what it feels like. It doesn't feel very like, I don't know. You're just using the same animation, same engine from the Super Mario Party, and you're just recreating these N64 boards and N64 mini games. Like, I don't know. It just kind of feels like, I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's enough for me.
Which, by the way, this year is almost a repeat of the final year of the 3DS support, because we got Samus Returns, WarioWare Gold, and Mario Party Top 100 those were like the last three like first party games on the 3DS pretty much. And then now we're getting basically the three kind of sequels to that in the Switch 4 years later. So it's kind of cool like to see how that worked out. But I kind of agree with you. I feel like this game is like it looked cool, like nothing against it. Like I'm sure it will be fun. It might be better than Super Mario Party, hopefully. And but it feels like it didn't need to exist. Like they just updated Super Mario Party a few months ago,
For
which is kind of
online.
weird. Like years after the game comes out, they release an update for it, finally add online and a few other things to it. And then there's another one coming out in a few months. I feel like this should have been an expansion. They could have even sold this as an expansion to Super Mario Party. You know what I mean?
People was
Like,
complaining on Super Mario Party that it didn't have enough maps and the boards suck. The boards that were
yeah,
there were basic. This could have literally remedied that if you just put it as an expansion pack or something. You know.
yeah. Like Super Mario Party Superstars, like 1999, 29.99 expansion to Super Mario Party. Nintendo fans would have been all over that. So yeah, I mean, they're gonna buy this game anyway, but
Hmm.
it seems like an odd choice to me. Um,
I would not. I'm probably not going to buy that game pending review. Like I would need to see like something that like because okay, first off, the N64 boards are actually pretty dope. You know, actually,
mhm.
it's not peak Mario Party because I think GameCube is peak Mario Party. But that notwithstanding, like I feel like if there's something good that comes of this, then sure I'll buy it. But I don't know. Like when I'm playing Mario Party with my friends when they come over, I would sooner bust out the GameCube and plug it to my TV than play this.
Right.
So
Yeah. Fair enough, but we'll see how it does. I will only buy that game if I hear like really good things about it. Like, oh, it's the best Mario Party to ever Mario Party or something. Then that's when I'm gonna buy it. But otherwise, I don't think so.
you know, thank
Um,
you for finally using one of my lines, by the way.
there we
Oh,
go.
yeah.
Now, a game I will get, especially because it'll be free day one with Game Pass, is Back for Blood. So that to me was one of the big announcements from the Xbox conference that got kind of buried by everything else. But that game, which Luis and I are both excited about, both want to play together that month, is coming out day one on Xbox Game Pass. I think that's really good. We also got to look at a few more things. There's the 10-minute presentation that I mentioned earlier in the show, where they show this new mode of the game where you can play as either the humans or the zombies. But the way that it works is that like it's like 4v4, a team of humans, a team of zombies. They play against each other. You're supposed to survive for as long as you can if you're the humans, and the zombies are trying to kill the humans. When all the humans are dead, like that time that they survive gets counted, and then the teams swap. So the human team becomes the zombies, the zombie team becomes the humans, and then whoever has survived the most, basically the longest, as the humans, wins the round.
Nice.
So I think that sounds cool. Sounds like a fun time. Um,
And because it's
and
coming to Game Pass, we're practically guaranteed to be able to stream it here on Ready Press Play or yeah.
yes, yeah,
So
exactly. So I feel like that's the big Game Pass win this month. But we also got Age of Empires 4, October 28th, Xbox First Party, coming to Game Pass. And I like those kinds of games. I used to play Civilization a lot, but I also used to play Age of Empires 2 when I was younger. Um, and I'm kind of starting to get the itch to play one of those again. Like I've been meaning to play Civ 6 for a while. I haven't played that yet. But this, I'll get it for free on Game Pass. This might do it for me. I might actually spend some time with that game if I have time.
okay.
Uh, and then I'm just gonna mention those quicker because I don't think we're gonna have much to say about them anymore. But Far Cry 6 comes out October 6th. Battlefield 2042 comes out October 22nd. The new Monkey Ball game comes out October 5th. Banana Mania, which that was kind of a bait and switch for me, by the way, because when I saw the banana icons and they said a franchise was coming back, my mind went to Donkey Kong. I was like, oh shit, here's the Donkey Kong, my prediction. And then when I saw Monkey Ball, I was like, ah.
Wait, I don't know how that. I don't know why, but I knew it was Monkey Ball. By the way, when I saw the
They did
icon.
say, yeah, well, I'm not super familiar with Monkey Ball, but they did say a 20-year-old franchise, which
Oh,
would not have made sense with Donkey Kong.
there you
But I was I wanted a Donkey Kong so bad I didn't even care. I was like, maybe, I don't know, maybe Donkey Kong 64 is 20 years old now, and they were
go.
gonna say like, Donkey Kong 3D is 20 years old. I don't know. But no Donkey Kong still. On October 22nd, we got the new game in the what is it called?
Dark
The Dark
Pictures
Pictures
anthology.
Anthology,
Yeah.
which is called House of Ashes. Still haven't played any of those, but we'll see. And then here's one of the biggest new reviews from E3, in my opinion, that nobody saw coming, is the Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy game. This is being developed by Eidos Montreal, and it's coming out on October 26th. Although you may think, by it being Guardians of the Galaxy, that this is an Avengers-like games of service type of game, it is not. This is a single-player, story-driven adventure where you play as Star-Lord. It is the only character you play as, and the other characters are just part of your team, and you can basically give them commands in battle in a system that's kind of like
Mass
the best
Effect.
thing. There we go. I was actually going to compare it to God of War, how you're like fighting as Kratos, but you can tell Atreus to do stuff. It's kind of like that. But did you see this, Lewis? What are
Yes.
your thoughts on it?
Well, I only saw it one time, and that was at the Nintendo presentation during the Nintendo Direct. So I didn't see like the deep dive that that Square Enix did and stuff like that. I would like to see it, but from what I saw, it looked interesting as hell, and they look like they got the characters right as far as like the personalities and stuff like that. I know they can't use like the actors' likenesses from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so I'm very interested in, to see more. Like I would actually need to do my homework and stuff before I can pass down any judgment, because I don't think that the Nintendo Direct's quick sizzle reel did it enough justice to make me feel hyped for it. So yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. I do recommend looking at the deep dive once you have some time and you can maybe scrub through it, because they stayed on that game for a long time. Like I can't. But it's because they didn't have a lot else to show apparently. But I kept wondering, like, okay, when are we gonna get out of this? What else? Like, I mean, it's cool, right? But like, I didn't need to see as much of it as I did. They pretty much show like a full gameplay sequence, like going through multiple like these missions, like killing enemies, etc. It was good to get a good look at the game. I just felt like it could have been cut a little bit shorter. And then next slide here, we're gonna get to. Yeah, go ahead.
Before we go on to the next slide, I just wanted to say I saw some speculation that said that Metroid Dread might actually already be completed. Like it might actually already be done, because like they said they already gave like the file size away, like how big it's gonna be. So there you go. So
Interesting.
all right,
Yeah, I believe that.
all right. Let's go ahead and move on to November.
Yeah, so here I put those together. So this is the wrap up of 2021, the things we know so far that have like release dates or at least a window. And we got, I'll go in order here. On November 9th, we got Forza Horizon 5. That's the big Xbox release that month. Day one on Game Pass. They also did a kind of like a deep dive on it in the Xbox conference that's set in Mexico. It looked pretty cool, very pretty. But racing game. I don't really play a lot of those. Lewis doesn't either. Then on the 12th, we got two kind of Nintendo releases that got shown at the Nintendo Direct. Shin Megami Tensei 5, as well as the Zelda Game & Watch, which seems to be like the only product they're doing to celebrate Zelda's 35th anniversary.
I'm excited. I'm excited only because Link's Awakening is like my favorite game like ever.
Oh
So
yes, that's right.
I'm like super on board with it. I have not played or beat. I mean, I've only played the first. I played the first NES, but I've not beat either of the two NES games. Maybe I'll do it, but if I'm going to ever beat the game, I was probably gonna do it on the 3DS because of save states. So, yeah.
Or the Switch, probably, right? Like you can play those on the Switch.
Yeah, I think the NES Online thing it does do that. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Yeah. And then in December, we're getting Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp on December 3rd. I think that was kind of a nice surprise as well. Lots of fans of that franchise have been waiting for something new, so we're getting something there. Dying Light 2 comes out on December 7th. And then Halo Infinite, we still don't have a release date for. It's coming out holiday 2021.
So,
Man.
do you think that Halo? I mean, honestly, when I think holiday, I'm thinking like the week before Thanksgiving. I'm thinking like November 21st or whatever the hell. Do you think that we're gonna see a situation where Halo comes out first weekend in December or something like that?
I don't know, man. Because, like, Okay, there's a few different things to unpack here. So they keep talking about how there's Halo Infinite, which is the campaign, and then there's also Halo Multiplayer, which will be a separate product that will be free to play, right? They keep talking about that. It will have battle passes and etc. Um, what I'm wondering now is like, are they going to release those together in the same day, or are they potentially going to space those out? Meaning maybe multiplayer starts early, but then we get the campaign next year, or what's going on. I just know that I personally do not feel like it's acceptable for them to delay this game again. I feel like they already delayed it for a full year. This was supposed to be the Xbox Series X like
Launch title.
launch title, the
Yeah.
game that you got the console for. And I there's a lot of people out there saying the good old like, delayed game is better than a bad game, and I get that, like I understand it. But man, get it together,
I think after
Microsoft.
Cyberpunk, no one's gonna bitch about delays ever again. So
I know. I just feel like it will be bad. That's all I'm trying to stress here. It will be really bad for them to delay this again. So I feel like they're wrestling with that in their heads.
You know what's kind of funny is
now.
that Starfield has an 11/11/22 release date. Like we actually have a hard date like for Starfield, and Halo still doesn't. Also, I didn't predict this, but I really expected that Halo to have like a beta announced, like a multiplayer beta announced for to drum up hype and stuff like that. So surprised that didn't happen.
Me too. I'm also surprised with that. Lewis, we could talk about this all day, but I don't want us to go too long. Let's look at the games from 2021 that still do not have a release date or window.
Okay.
So we got here Metal Slug Tactics. I think we saw that at Summer Game Fest Live. Horizon Forbidden West still doesn't have a date. Evil Dead the game doesn't have a date. Vampire the Masquerade Blood Hunt. The Danganronpa collection that's coming out on the Switch. Don't remember the name for it.
Decadence.
Yes, there we go. Jurassic World Evolution 2. Solar Ash. Fatal Frame Maiden of Blackwater on the Switch. And Shadow Warrior 3.
Oh, so is that what this image is right here?
Yes, Fatal Frame is that one.
So I gotta say right now, I completely forgot to buy the Danganronpa games on the Vita.
I bought like one of them.
Whenever the Vita, they just like they yeeted it out the fucking PS Vita store for no reason really. I mean, come on, like, what harm was it in keeping it on there? But that being said, the Switch is the new Vita, so at the very least, we are blessed with all the Danganronpa games that our hearts desire.
I think it's pretty cool. Like sometimes we complain that Switch games can be too expensive and etc. But the fact that you're gonna get all these games, it's 4 different games for $60. I mean, presumably, I think it's a good enough deal because those games were not that often on sale on the PSN, and even when they were, because like each one of those games retailed for
$20, right? Or no?
$20 or more. It was like, I think when I bought Danganronpa 1, which was this year, I bought it for $20, but or last year, whatever, whenever it was about to get out of the store. But at that point, Danganronpa 3, I think was still $40. It was a full price Vita game. But the fact that you're gonna get all those games, presumably remastered, presumably for $60, I think is a good deal there. I think it's cool that we're getting that Fatal Frame game on the Switch as well. I wasn't sure, was that the Wii U game?
Yep, it's the 2015 Wii U game.
So one of the last few Wii U games that hadn't made it to the Switch yet as well.
So question about Danganronpa. Okay, so what are your thoughts on the fact that they're selling the 4-piece set for $60 as a physical exclusive, and that you have to buy the games individually on the eShop if you want them digitally?
See, I think it's good to have the games separate on the eShop as an option, but I wish you could still buy the full package as one thing.
Okay. At least they should do the thing where they're all $15 a piece, so they equal the same amount as the physical version. So
yes. Now, Lewis, you mentioned there's a lot of 2022 stuff that you saw 2022 thrown around a lot on the Xbox conference, and that's what I have the next 2 slides for. which is like all the 2022 games, whether we have a date for them or not. Unfortunately, a lot of those pictures are not loading on your screen, but that's okay because I'll tell you what they are. So we got a Plague Tale Requiem on the top left corner there. Then we got Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. That one is supposedly coming out on early 2022. Next to it is Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. Next to it is Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope. Then down there we got Redfall. That was the closer of the Xbox conference. Elden Ring, which has a date for January 21st. Then Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. And Starfield is the final one, November 11th. 2022 is starting to look pretty packed, and with some big stuff too. So like Elden Ring opening the year, Starfield capping the year, and somewhere in the middle there, supposedly, we're getting this Redfall game, we're getting the Avatar game, we're getting Mario plus Rabbids sequel. Which, by the way, I want to talk about that for a second. I made a joke prediction on Twitter that there would be a Mario plus Rabbids sequel and that it would be announced alongside the next Smash character being the Raving Rabbids. And I said that as a joke, but I was half right.
Yeah. And then they also did the thing where like it got leaked. Both Mario and Rabbids games got leaked before E3.
Yep. Which
nice.
Can you? I didn't really see the leak. Do you know how that got leaked? Because I heard it was Nintendo themselves that leaked it.
Nintendo themselves that leaked it on the listing on their website. You know, so it was an oopsie daisy. I actually did not see the leak. I saw the headline. Like I saw the headline on my YouTube feed, but on that morning of, like Nintendo game got leaked or whatever before E3, and I just did not watch it because I didn't want to be ruined by the surprise. You know, so yeah.
There's a few things here we got to talk about, at least for a little bit. So Zelda, we got another look at it. Still no release date, though. Similar to Halo Infinite, right? So how do you feel about that?
So I'm disappointed that it's not a... I'm disappointed that it's not an early 2022 game. You know, like I was expecting it to be... you know, Q1 at the latest, preferably, you know, Q4 2021, you know, the big November game. And so I'm at least happy that they showed us what they showed us as far as like it really did, like, you know, feels like it's tiding us over. There's a lot of fan speculation about what's going on with his arm and everything like that. Oh, he's got a bionic arm kind of thing going on. So yeah, I'm happy it'll tide me over with that. I'm surprised they didn't give us the name, like the actual title of the.
Yeah, they said that the title would spoil the game, which I think is such a stupid thing. Like, it's such a stupid reason to not give the name because we will know the name before we play the game anyway. Like, so what does that even mean? I was very confused by that.
It's like I don't know. Like I don't know if Breath of the Wild didn't spoil anything or Twilight Princess doesn't really spoil anything anyways. So it's like...
Well, okay, but as a thought experiment, let's say the game is called Breath of the Wild: Link kills Ganon and Zelda does a backside flip, whatever. Like spoiler of the game, right? Like it's not like we're gonna buy the game without knowing the title, and the title is gonna reveal itself when we beat the game. We're gonna know it anyway. So whatever spoiler it is, it's a spoiler that they're okay with us knowing.
Yeah.
You know, so why not just tell us now? What difference does it make to tell us the title now or, you know, a year from now, next year's E3? It's gonna spoil shit anyway, so I don't get it. The only logical thing that I can maybe think about is that the title of this game would spoil something that will happen in between now and then, such as something to do with the new Hyrule Warriors expansion or something weird. I don't know. Seems weird to me. I have a theory about this game, though, is that I think this game will tie into Skyward Sword somehow.
Because we have the shot, this shot right here, it's on screen, like of him falling, just like in Skyward Sword. Yeah.
And Skyward Sword, like the one classic Zelda game that we're getting this year is Skyward Sword, right? HD. They've been mentioning the game a lot. Like even like Eiji Aonuma said something like, "Oh, you know, like Skyward Sword is set in the sky. By the way, here's Breath of the Wild 2." And like they mentioned that in Breath of the Wild 2, you got the world from Breath of the Wild, but then you also got the sky. That's like a new element in the game. So I feel like to me it's pretty clear that they're looking for some kind of Skyward Sword tie-in. Um, and I wonder, I'm kind of excited for that. I want to see how they're gonna do that if they do it, because Breath of the Wild is, I think, the only Zelda game that doesn't really properly fit into the timeline. Like they figured out all sorts of ways that all these games fit together in that crazy three-branch timeline. But as far as I understand, Breath of the Wild just kind of stands on its own. Um,
They were trying to play the fast and loose with the timeline where it's at the end of all three timelines,
right. Yeah.
or like
So
maybe people were even like theorizing that it converges, like it like closes and it converges to Breath of the Wild. But
yeah,
whatever.
it could be that. But then I'm interested. I feel like this game will do something with the story that will kind of connect things. I don't know. We're looking at some interesting stuff here. There's also been some crazy theories about you playing a Zelda. I don't know how you feel about that.
About damn time.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, though it would be cool. I don't know if I don't think it's true though. I haven't seen anything in the trailer that made me believe that, but it's fine. Um, Now, any other game you want to talk about here? So that we got, Starfield. We didn't really get to see a lot of it, honestly. And I think we didn't get to see a lot of it because it's not coming out until late next year. We'll see next year's E3 again. Um, Redfall, new IP from the makers of Dishonored, Xbox exclusive.
So
Seems like it could be cool, but
everyone was really hyped for this girl's hair, by the way, because it was on fleek.
Mhm.
But beyond that, like, I mean, this looks interesting as far as like, it kind of feels like it's going for that Left 4 Dead vibe. It seems like it's 4-player co-op, and there we go. Like, I don't know, does it bring anything new to the table? Because we already have Left 4 Dead. You know what I mean? Like,
I
I don't
don't
know.
know, but we haven't seen gameplay yet, so I don't feel anything about the game until we really see what it was gonna play like. So I don't know. I will tell you this: I saw an article on, I think it was Kotaku or Polygon or something, about how the Left 4 Dead has now become a genre, and that we're seeing like all these. There were 4 or 5 different games that we saw at E3 this year that are following the Left 4 Dead formula, more or less.
Hmm.
That seem to be following that formula, and this is, I think, one of them. But this one is also not zombies; it's vampires. So I thought that was cool. I'm beginning to get some zombie fatigue.
Hmm.
So it would be nice to see some games that are doing other shit. Vampires are cool, werewolves are cool, witches, I don't know. Enough with zombies already.
You know,
And yet,
I just realized that it was a missed opportunity not to have a fourth Left 4 Dead game because it could be called
mm.
Left 4 Dead, but whatever. Yeah,
Well, they don't even have a third one.
I know.
Um, Next slide is more like smaller titles that are also coming out on 2022. So I'm just gonna go through those real quick.
Oh my god, I
Uh,
actually did in fact get hyped for Somerville on the Xbox conference. That was the second game that I actually did. Is like, oh
yes,
my god, like the guys, I could tell without them even saying the studio, I could tell it was the same studio that did Inside. Like 100% without a doubt, you can tell by the art style, it was the guys from Limbo. So
I don't think it is. I don't think it is. I think if that was the case, they would have told us. They would have
wait, are
said it
you
was.
sure? I'm gonna Google this shit right now because I swear to God,
Okay.
I will. I was gonna say
Okay.
I'll bet $5, but I won't. I'll
So
bet.
if I
I will bet my
if I
pride.
if I knew that, at least I would have had this at the top. It would be our first conversation point. I I think this is just an indie game made in the style of those games, but I don't think it's played at. Um, Let me go through these other names here. Party Animals. That looks kind of like a Fall Guys sort
God
of
damn it, you're
clone,
not. You're
but a little
right.
different.
You're-
There we go.
fuck.
Uh, Planet of Lana, Track Toyomi, Slime Rancher 2, Wizard with the Gun, Stalker 2, Replace. Replaced looked really cool. That was like one of the best indie games I saw this year. And then the one that's like kind of hard to read in the bottom there is the Final Fantasy Origins game. It's like a Devil May Cry like Final Fantasy game that was shown at the end of the Square Enix conference. Um,
They
and
put
then
a
you can
lot
go
of
to the
time.
next.
They put a lot of time on Stalker 2, by the way, on that Xbox conference. By the way, I'm not
Yeah,
gonna lie. It was kind of boring me to hell.
yeah.
But
It took a little too long. I will tell you this: that game, like that was one of the games that looked the most next gen to me out of all the games we've seen in a while. I thought it looked pretty next gen. However, They did spend too much time on it. I didn't think the trailer was that well cut. We got a lot of like people talking, cut to action, people talking, cut to action. Just give me the action. I would have been happy with just the action.
So,
Um,
by the
but
way, just as a separate side note, the name of the developer for Somerville is Jump Ship. So, the studio
all right.
co-founder previously, the studio's co-founder Dino Patti previously co-founded Playdead.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. I can see that. Then we got a game announced for 2023 in the Xbox conference. It's called Euden Chronicle 100 Heroes. And this is a sequel to Suikoden, Lewis.
Oh, interesting.
This is in the Suikoden universe. And it was interesting. I don't have a lot to say about it. It kind of had that similar Octopath Traveler style of
Yeah, that's what I
art.
was gonna say.
But it's really far away, so we'll see it plenty of times again before it comes out. And then a few games that had no window, no year at all. Loot River is an indie game. I thought there's plenty of indie games here. I don't even know if I want to mention them necessarily, but we got The Outer Worlds 2, which by the way had like I think one of the best trailers of E3 because
Yeah, it was so
it was it was a CGI trailer that told us nothing about the game, but the trailer itself was making fun of that and was making fun of how trailers do that. So I really
It's like
appreciated
we're
that.
not going to
Pretty
show the
cool.
protagonist's face or whatever, that kind of stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was so
it
good.
was
I was
really
like,
good.
damn, that was because it's like so E3 as far as like we've seen that trailer a million times before when it comes to like drumming up hype and stuff like that.
I know.
And I love that
I
they can
know.
be all meta with it now and say we're gonna just do that exact same thing and we're gonna tell you we're doing that. So.
It was
Yeah.
great. It was great. So check out that trailer. Atomic Heart. Some people are excited for that. I have no feelings about it really. Some other indie games here that I saw. A Walk with Yaya and Yokai Inn looked interesting, and then Vokabulantis. That's an indie game as well. Lewis, that is a stop motion game where the graphics of the game were made by like sculpting like clay like figures and environments and etc and taking photos like motion style really and the whole game was created that way and the way like you're like oh okay so like how the things get affected by lighting and like and etc in a game world the dude who made this would like point lights in like all different directions and like take photos of it so that he could program the game to behave accordingly like as you move the camera around so that the characters are lit properly and etc um and it's just insane like the process to make this game just sounds insane and it makes it have a look that no other game I've ever seen any other game have before. So
What's
just
it?
wanted to give that one a shout out.
What's it called? I did better win the game award for best animation.
Yes. When this game does eventually come out, which might be many years out, and I hope that's the case. And then Contraband, that was a CGI announcement in the Xbox conference. I don't remember what was the studio for
It
that.
tells us the
So I
studio. I
think
forgot, but yeah, it was a trailer that literally told us nothing and stuff like that. It was just
I
a
know.
room, some shots, and some pictures, and then a car being worked on, and that's about it. So yeah, it's
Avalanche.
hmm,
Avalanche Studios, developers of Mad Max and
hmm.
I think Max Payne maybe. Yeah. So yeah, so this is pretty much it for like all the games that we saw at E3 pretty much. Obviously there was like 100 more indies. I just like I chose to spotlight 10 or so indies that spoke to me. But there's plenty more there for the people that want to watch it. I do recommend the Day of the Devs show. I thought that was pretty good. So shout out to that. Um and Lewis, just I guess we don't need E3 stuff. We still have to go through our predictions, but I think I want to do that next week. So, what do you think about us doing kind of like an E3 round 2 next week where we go through our predictions?
Yeah,
Um and
we've already gone
and
so long already. We've damn near
I
gone
know.
a whole show's worth already just
But
on topic of the
I
show.
yeah, to be yeah. So I mean at least the rest of the show will go by pretty quick. So
Yeah.
let's move on to our extra news here.
All right. Before we do that, here, I'm just gonna show up on screen here real quick and just show. Oops, I don't. Dan doesn't like when I put up the doc, so sorry. But yeah, We're I'll just get a show out here. Dan put on the dock some day 1, day 2, day 3, and day 4 roundups. I don't know if he's gonna put it on the dock. It may or may not be on the show notes. Who knows? Well, like that's TBA. I make no
Okay.
promises, but I will go ahead and chill and at least on the YouTube because I have control over the YouTube description. I'll put on the
Go
YouTube
ahead.
description my roundup of the Nintendo Direct. By the way, we didn't even talk about Kazuya going to Smash.
Yes. Okay. So one of my predictions was that the character that would be announced would disappoint you. Now, I want to ask you, and I need you to be 100% honest with me. In the moment, watching the direct for the first time, when you saw this being the character, this announcement, did you feel excited or did you feel disappointed?
Oh, excited! Most definitely. You know I played Tekken,
I
right? I did Sharing the Love on Tekken Tag for the PS2.
Okay,
You
okay.
do remember that,
All
right?
right.
I mean, I don't know.
I maybe I don't remember. I have a terrible memory, but okay.
I did Sharing the Love
I
on Tekken Tag, and I'm actually like, I shouldn't be surprised in hindsight because Bandai Namco helped develop Smash Brothers, so it makes sense for them to get another rep in.
Mhm.
Surprised that they picked Kazuya because Heihachi has more of an iconic hairstyle. And Kazuya, I don't know if he's like necessarily like the poster of Tekken. I mean, I know he's on the cover art on a lot of Tekken games, but it's always like the grandfather, the father, and the son because Jin is also one of the main headliners as well. So I guess with Kazuya specifically, I guess he's a good fit. I guess he's kind of like a little bit of what do you call it? Moveset wise, he's probably more interesting than Heihachi and Jin. So yeah, I was actually excited. I like me some FGC characters, so you can suck it, Dan.
All right, just so you know how much I know of fighting games and understand of fighting games, when I was watching the direct and they showed this character showing up, I was like, "Yes, I won my prediction because they're just adding another Street Fighter character." And I thought you would get here crying at how bad like the new Smash character was, and
Oh my
I thought I had beat you so bad in that prediction. But anyway, I was wrong. Tekken character, not Street Fighter. It's all the same thing, anyways. But
I was just playing Tekken the other day before the E3 happened. So, yeah, I just want to say, yeah, you're totally wrong. You're wrong on so many counts, but whatever.
Lewis, let me give you a suggestion. Why don't we just? I did say that we were going to the news before, but there's no really big news to talk about other than just all the E3 games that we already talked about anyway. Why don't we go ahead and I'll just give you the reins of the show. You can do our final two segments and then take us home.
All right, cool.
And then we'll do E3 round 2 next week. We'll go through our predictions and then we're probably going to talk a little bit more about E3 as we go through the predictions. And that will be it. Today was more of the games of E3.
Okay.
Maybe next week will be more the predictions results. Yeah.
Predictions, results, and maybe a little bit more of like a diatribe on whether or not it was right for PlayStation to skip E3 or something like that or
Yes.
whatever. So yeah, yeah, I guess looking at the extra news, it is a little sus. So we'll go ahead and just skip right on to the next segment or the final two segments.
What are you buying?
All right. So for the new releases, surprisingly, I did not have any of the stuff pulled up here, so just gonna sort of wing it here. So for the new releases, apparently Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order got upgrades for PS5 and Xbox Series last week, kind of like a bit of a stealth drop. So if you already have it on the PS4 and the Xbox One, the upgrades are free. I'm very happy. I could have sworn that these patches already happened a long time ago. I remember IGN even covering it and stuff like that. So or Digital Foundry, but whatever. So cool. We get some snazzy little effects. So also because I own the game on PS4, that means that I get to get the PS5 version for free, and I can have my save carryover, and I don't have to choose between good graphics and on the Series X. So there
Maybe
you
you're finally gonna beat a game.
go. Very funny. It's interesting. It's like I don't even know, but like, I wonder if it's still on Game Pass or because I know it was on Game Pass at some point this year. But whatever. All right.
I think it is. Yeah.
So for the new releases here, we have Dark Alliance, which is a coming out on the 22nd, which is what, next Tuesday? Yeah. Coming
Yeah.
out on Tuesday the 22nd is Dark Alliance for the PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. After that, we have Ender Lilies Quietus of the Nights. Okay. Also coming out on the 22nd for the Switch and PC. Then after that, we have Lego Builder's Journey coming out on the Switch and PC, and also Olympic Tokyo 2020, the official, Olympic Games Tokyo 2020, the official video game. It's coming out on the PS4, Xbox One, Switch, Stadia, and PC. So let me ask you this, Dan. Is this the Olympic Games where like Sonic shows up, or am I thinking of something else?
You're thinking of something else, but I wish Sonic showed up on this one.
Because like I vaguely remember like there was like a trailer where like Sonic is literally standing next to actual human characters or something.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't know about that. I thought you were referring to the Mario. I thought you were making a joke, really, and referring to the Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games. But no, I'm not familiar with that.
No, okay, you know what? It's got to be, because look at the developer. It's Sega.
Oh shit.
So I remember seeing a trailer where it's like you can play as and Sonic is like right there, like he's like a little shorter than the other characters and the other humans in it and stuff like that. I just gotta say that I remember seeing a trailer and they were like advertising, it's like Sonic is in this game. So
I'm gonna look this up while you
okay,
you continue the show.
So next Wednesday on June 23rd, featured on the Nintendo Direct is Worms Rumble. It's coming out on the Switch exclusively on the 23rd. And also just remember that the Nintendo Direct did say that there's going to be a DLC costume that's free for 2 weeks. So, Dan, did you get the update?
You asked me if I got the update for something. What did you mean?
Do you have the update on whether or not Sonic is in Sega or Olympic Games?
I'll send you a video on Discord, and I want you to play it on the show as soon as we're done with the new releases.
Okay. All right. Next up is Alex Kidd in Miracle World DX, coming out on PS5, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Is it not coming to Xbox Series? That's interesting. It doesn't say that on the list. It's coming out next Thursday on June 24th, and the blurb reads, "The legendary Alex Kidd returns with Alex Kidd in Miracle World DX. Since his first appearance in 1986 with Alex Kidd in Miracle World, the iconic Alex Kidd makes his return to smash rocks, collect coins, and tackle bosses once again in Alex Kidd in Miracle World DX." So it's basically a remake. So there you go. Cool. Next up is going to be Legend of Mana. It's coming out on the PS4, the Switch, and PC also next Thursday. Set off on a journey to find the mystical mana tree seen in a dream before discovering the world map is empty. During your travels, you'll acquire special artifacts. Place these wherever you would like to be on the map to bring towns and dungeons to life and advance the story. Meet a colorful cast of characters, square off against fearsome monsters, and complete quests in the vast world of Fadiel. Not only has the music been rearranged for this remaster, you can also alternate between the new and original soundtrack. Other features have also been added, including the ability to turn off enemy encounters and the never before released minigame Ring Ring Land. Cool, that seems awesome. Next up is Roguebook, which is coming out on PC on the 24th, and finally, rounding it out is the final new release. It is The Eternal Castle Remastered, coming out on PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4. Dan, is there a pick of the week?
None of those games really speak for me, but perhaps the Olympic Games, just because Sonic is in it. Although I do want to give a shout out. There was a game where the cover art for it caught my attention as you were going through them, and so I actually pulled it up on Steam, and it's this Ender Lilies game. So maybe we can pull that up as well and take a look at it on video. But why don't you go ahead and share play the YouTube video for or YouTube watchers for the Sonic or the Olympic games. You might have to share that with me as well because I don't think you're sharing right now.
Okay. Oh. All right. Let's see here. So it's at Tokyo Olympics 2021. There we go.
I sent you
Game.
the link.
Oh, you did. All
Yeah,
right.
I sent you on Discord.
See. Okay, I see it now. Oh, there we go. Wow. So much easier. There we go. Let me just mute the audio. There we go. See, I was right. See,
I know, right?
I saw this trailer. Yeah, this is hilarious. Oh my
It's so
god.
weird.
Oh my god. This almost looks like a joke, by the way.
I know.
It looks like it's a guy inside of like one of those costumes, like he's literally wearing a Sonic. What do you call it? Like you know when you take pictures with them and stuff like that. You know, so yeah,
You
it
know,
almost.
this makes me think of those jokes where it's like, "Mom, I want Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games." And then the mom says, "You already have that at home." And then it's like Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games at home, and it's this game.
Oh my
um,
god. So yeah,
yeah.
interesting. All right, let me pull up this other video that you sent me.
Yeah, this is just the Steam link
Oh,
for
okay.
Ender Lily's Quietest of the Nights. It is a dark fantasy 2D action RPG about unraveling the mysteries of a destroyed kingdom. On the sorrowful journey, encounter horrific enemies against whom a moment of inattention could be fatal. Overcome these hardships and seek the truth with the help of fallen knights. We mentioned a lot of indie games today. This is one that actually looks really good.
Damn,
So
this animation is on point. Like, damn. It almost reminds
I
me
know,
of like
right?
Ori and the Blind Forest, by the way. It looks like a Metroidvania just from like the aesthetic of it. But damn.
Yeah, overwhelmingly positive reviews, and it's got plenty of reviews as well. I'm surprised I never heard of this. It
Yeah.
looks really good. So yeah, shout out to that.
Interesting. Well, damn, I guess that's the pick of the week, if anything. Or if
Yeah,
you're like
I
into
think I
like
agree.
if you're into like memes, then I guess maybe Olympic Games Tokyo.
Yeah, you know what? Worms is probably a fun game because I've played a Worms game a long time ago on PC and that was really fun. So I don't know about this one, but maybe. Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and wrap up the with the final segment here.
Got a selection of good things on sale, stranger.
So for the Broke Gamers Guide, again, I'm not prepared, so let me just pull up some links here. All right, so for the first thing that we usually cover for our Broke Gamers Guide is always going to be the Epic Games Store, what's free. And by the way, look at this. This is a pretty good like a banger lineup here because I would say Overcooked 2 is like the headliner. It's going to be free for the week from the until the 24th. And then there's something called Hell is Other Demons, and that's also free till the 24th. So we're getting 2 free games for
Nice.
in this week, as well as 2 free games next week. And it says here that Sonic Mania is going to be the headliner for next week. Also, by the way, oh, look at that. Horizon Chase Turbo. That game got reviewed by Level 1 Gaming. I remember watching the review, so there's a video review on the Level 1 Gaming YouTube channel somewhere on
I
this
think that
channel.
I think that game was given away on PS Plus at one point, not too long ago, like within or run of the show,
Interesting.
um, because I think I owned that game on PlayStation. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah,
Since we all know what Overcooked is, I'm not going to go ahead and read the blurb here for Hell is Other Demons, simply because let's just spotlight something that we don't know. So,
okay,
Hell is Other Demons is an action platform shooter with roguelike elements. Explore a sprawling, handcrafted world full of demons, insanely over the top boss fights, and a heavy synth wave soundtrack. Okay, you got me with the soundtrack part. This looks dope, by the way. Like, look at this shit. This is interesting. I would say it's got like that NES vibe and stuff, but also got like that pixel junk shooter kind of like bullet hell thing going on. So yeah.
so many games, not enough time.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on to the games that are coming to Game Pass. So you put a tweet. Come on, man. All right.
Here's the thing. I thought, let's Xbox shared this image, and really that is only on Broke Gamers Guide because I wanted to look at this image with you a little bit further, and I think this image solidifies why ultimately I put Xbox above Nintendo on my ranking. Even though I thought both conferences were pretty much the same, is the fact that Game Pass continues to be like solidified as the best deal in gaming, like the Netflix of gaming. And I think this image kind of shows that. Available today, we're getting things like Yakuza, Rage, Wolfenstein 2, all the Fallout games pretty much, Doom Eternal, Dishonored, The Evil Within 2, like all these games coming to Game Pass immediately as of the day of E3 when their conference happened. But then play day one this year for the rest of the year, we already talked about Psychonauts 2, Age of Empires 4, Forza Horizon 5, Halo Infinite, Back for Blood, The Ascent, a bunch of other like smaller, double A indie games, Flight Simulator, Among Us, Hades. Like, and then coming day one in the future, and then we got Outer Worlds 2, Contraband, Starfield, Redfall, Replaced, Slime Rancher 2, Somerville, Atomic Heart, Party Animals, Stalker 2, etc. The Ayuden Chronicles game that we talked about that is like a Suikoden sequel. Yeah, so I guess it's the Broke Gamers Guide. Just wanted to throw it out there. Game Pass continues to be an awesome deal if you are the kind of person that likes to play a lot of different games. And I feel like people talk a lot about the quantity of games in Game Pass, but I personally feel like they got the quality too.
Yeah.
Um,
What's it called? Fame is giving a lot of like shout outs to Yakuza Like a Dragon, and it's right there,
yes,
playable right now on Game Pass. So yeah.
And that's the thing. Before we discussed whether that game was on Game Pass or not, and the truth is they had all of the other Yakuza games on Game Pass, and then now they're adding this one, and now they actually officially have the whole franchise on Game Pass. Yeah.
Yeah. Dope. All right, and the final thing that you threw on here was the deal of the week on PSN, and that deal is Hitman 3. The standard edition is down at $39, while the deluxe edition is down from $80 to $52. Yeah, I mean, is Hitman? Hitman doesn't quite move the needle for me, but okay, just to each their own.
It is one of the game of the years this year. So I thought, once I saw that there was a deal of the week on the PSN for, arguably one of the top 5 games this year so far as I can tell, based on the circles I follow and etc. I figured I'd throw it in there, even though it's not exactly my cup of tea either.
All right, I guess we'll close it out.
Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Ready Press Play. Remember, you can reach the podcast at Ready Press Play on Twitter and TikTok. Remember, if you found us on YouTube, subscribe to the Level 1 Gaming channel. If you found us on podcast services, subscribe to the feed, give us a review, all that good stuff. Lewis, where can people find you?
Chocolate88. And there's something else I want to add to this in case you guys don't know this. YouTube has this nifty thing where in the last 20 seconds I get to put cards up. So if right over here is the subscribe button, and over here is the last week's video, last week's Ready Press Play. So I do that every week at the end of the show.
Oh, do you really?
Yes.
I didn't know that. I was about to say you really enjoy creating more work for yourself for no reason, right?
It's already I've been doing it. Yeah, it takes like 5 clicks, so.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, everybody. I'm on Twitter at the Don Lima, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Peace.